Alrighty, guys, good morning. As promised, I wanted to do an Instagram live on some of my recommendations that I give to patients that are coming in for tennis elbow. Now, I don't know about you guys, but in my clinic, I've seen a major increase on how many patients are coming in for the treatment of tennis elbow. And of course, I have an online course, the Oak Point Method Practice Building, where I go over how to treat the most common musculoskeletal condition that you're going to see in an acupuncture clinic. Tennis elbow is definitely one of those conditions that we review on how to assess properly, how to treat properly. But of course, we need to be able to give recommendations to patients on what to do on their own in order to help speed up the healing process. So I'm going to share with you some of my most common recommendations. Maybe this is something that you can share with your patients. If you're suffering from tennis elbow, maybe this is something that you can use. But definitely incorporating it with some type of treatment like electroacupuncture will be an absolutely fantastic addition to what I'm about to show you guys today. So the first recommendations that I do recommend, especially if it's somebody that has tennis elbow, it's acute, it's in the very, very beginning stages, I typically recommend to use a little bit of ice. Now, I know as acupuncturists, we don't love ice. However, in initial stages, just to kind of bring down that initial pain response, I do recommend using it maybe the first day or two. And what I typically recommend is getting one of these small paper cups, ideally probably even smaller than this, fill it up with water, and then you just put it in the freezer, let it freeze, take it out when it's ready, and you could cut a piece of the cup off to create a little bit of a space where the ice is going to get exposed. And then you can simply just tell the patients to massage the area that hurts, that's tender, with the ice massage. Absolutely fantastic thing to do for a couple of minutes. It'll help reduce the pain. Now, ice, unfortunately, does not really help with healing. It does help reduce some pain, but it doesn't really help with the healing. So in the more subacute and chronic stages of tennis elbow, if someone's had it for a pretty significant amount of time, I do recommend, instead of using ice, using a hot water bottle for about 20 minutes. Now, it's important to use a hot water bottle rather than an electric blanket, for example, something that has a constant temperature that doesn't change. We want that decrease in temperature to happen over time. We want to get blood and fresh blood and oxygen to the area. I'm getting excited, I can't even speak. But fresh blood and oxygen to the area, and we want to get that blood that we increase into that area to flush out. So we want to flush out any kind of waste products that have accumulated in that area. So applying the hot water bottle for 20 minutes is ideal. Doing that a couple of times a day will be also a really good addition. Now, aside from hydrotherapy like ice or heat, I do recommend some basic stretches and exercises that patients can do on their own, okay? One thing that I really like using before any kind of stretching, before kind of any exercise, is using a mobility ball, or what we call self-myofascial release. This is a good thing to have maybe in your clinic. You can sell these to your patients. Obviously want to use and sell things to patients that actually help them in their recovery. The mobility ball is definitely one of those things that you can do. Foam rolls is another good option, but for the elbow, because it's a smaller area, mobility balls are definitely much better, much more versatile for this area. So a simple thing to do before doing any kind of stretching or exercises, you could take the ball and tell the patients to just apply pressure and massage the forearm extensors. And what you're looking for here, a lot of people, unfortunately, they kind of go very quickly and massage the area. We don't want that. We want to massage the area and find areas of tenderness. And we want to keep pressure there. We don't want to move off of that area too quickly. We want to keep pressure, and when the tenderness subsides a little bit, then we can move on to the next and find another area that's tender. Hold that, take a couple of deep breaths. When the tenderness subsides, then you can move on to the other area. Now, if a patient doesn't have a mobility ball, or let's just say they were traveling and they forgot it, they can simply find areas of tension, apply pressure with their fingers, and they can keep it there. And they can even, I usually tell patients, like, once you find that area of tenderness, just extend the wrist and flex the wrist. Okay, this is going to help reduce that tension in the forearm extensors that are typically causing what we call tennis elbow. Now, after the self-myofascial release with a mobility ball typically, or someone's manual, their hands, I do recommend going into a stretch, right? We want to calm down those tissues first with the self-myofascial release, and then we want to move into some kind of static stretching. There's different types of stretching, but just to keep it simple for patients, I'd rather give them something that's going to be very simple for them to do, and they could do it repeatedly rather than make it a little bit too complicated for them where they're going to be like, you know what, I'm not going to do this anymore. So a simple stretch to do. That's not very often, it's kind of like not, it's a little tweak to a normal stretch of the forearm muscles. So usually stretching out the forearm muscles, you just extend the elbow, you bring the wrist down, and you get a nice little stretch in this region. That's great, but just to take it to the next level is to get into that stretch and then do a little ulnar deviation. So just rotating, telling the patients to rotate their hand towards the ulna, okay? And that's gonna get an even better stretch of those forearm extensors, even brachioradialis, which tends to adhere. Brachioradialis adheres to the other extensor muscles. And by doing that, you're really gonna get a nice big stretch in the forearm extensor. So adding that little tweak for your patients will be major, actually, okay? The other thing is after we do the self-myofascial release with some kind of mobility ball, we go into the stretch, which we typically hold for at least 30 to 45 seconds, taking some nice deep breaths. We then move on to some kind of strengthening exercise. Now, typical strengthening exercise for tennis elbow is the ones that we usually see, patients usually have some kind of dumbbell, they're doing extension, supination, pronation. These are all great exercises, but a lot of times either people don't have access to a dumbbell or it's something that they've been doing already for a while and they need to add some kind of progression. So one thing that I recommend is a flex bar by TheraBand. This is really good thing to have your patients with tennis elbow buy, or if you have tennis elbow, you should definitely pick one of these up. And a really simple exercise, there's two main ones that I use with the flex bar. One of them is you're just gonna keep the arms extended with the flex bar, and the non-affected elbow or hand is gonna be up. And then the other one, we're gonna rotate upwards. So first we're gonna start with let's just say I'm treating my right elbow. What I'm gonna do here, we're gonna bring the left wrist up, and then with the right wrist, we're gonna rotate all the way up. Now, keeping everything nice and straight. It's really important now from this position, we're gonna slowly bring the wrist down, okay? We really wanna focus on that eccentric contraction when the muscle is elongating and it's under tension. That's where we're gonna get most development of the muscle. It's gonna help with the rehab process. It's gonna get the area much stronger. And when we do these kind of exercises, we can help our patients get blood flow, fresh blood and oxygen into this area, as well as strengthening the tissues, okay? Because when there's pain, we have motor inhibition. Motor inhibition leads to weakness of muscles, and then it causes this vicious cycle, right? So we wanna strengthen the area, bring the non-affected wrist up, and then the other side, you're gonna get the flex bar, rotate it all the way up, and then slowly bring it down, getting that eccentric contraction, okay? So, flex bar, really cool thing to have. The second exercise, which is a little bit more of a progression to this, is you're gonna keep the arm at 90 degrees under the shoulder. Elbow is under the shoulder, 90 degrees. We're gonna flex our wrist up. We're gonna extend the wrist up. We're gonna grab the top, rotate it down. We're gonna straighten it out, and we're gonna slowly, eccentrically allow it to go down, keeping that tension. We're gonna focus on the eccentric contraction. Now, if you notice, we're using more joints now when we're performing this rehab movement. The wrist is important when moving the elbow. The elbow is important when moving the shoulder, and vice versa. So we want to, in the later stages of rehab, incorporate more joints into the rehab process, okay? So in the beginning, a lot of people focus on just grabbing a dumbbell and extending the wrist, supinating, pronating the wrist. Now we're adding more dynamic rehab to treatment of tennis elbow by using the TheraBand flex bar. So one more time, we're gonna keep everything at 90 degrees, good posture. We're gonna extend the wrist up. With the other hand, we're gonna rotate that flex bar downwards, extend the arms. Arms are straight, and we're gonna focus on that eccentric contraction. So the going down part, we're gonna focus on. That's gonna help, again, strengthen the extensors of the wrist. And of course, get more blood flow into those muscles that are injured. And just a little tip, not a tip, but more of a reminder is that now we know that tennis elbow is actually not inflammation. And this is really important to know, because if you know it's not inflammation, then you won't treat it as an inflammatory response. This is more of a degeneration of tissue, okay? So we want to, with that in mind, focus on getting blood flow into that area by using moist heat, for example. Focus on strengthening the area by doing our rehab exercises. Focus on doing some kind of therapy like electroacupuncture. That's gonna improve blood flow into that area, help release our natural painkillers, which are our endorphins, help get rid of any kind of adhesions, sticky parts of the muscle that have been stuck together that don't allow for proper movement of those muscles, for proper nourishment of those muscles. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you guys are giving some of your patients some homework to do and along with your treatments. If you have any questions, let me know. If you have any other idea maybe on some kind of condition that you would want to know more about, maybe our treatment approach or recommendations that we give to patients when they have those conditions, along with the electroacupuncture, let us know. You can DM us, and we'll be more than happy to make another little live video on this, on that topic. And again, if you have any questions about the online course, if you're interested in learning more on how to assess and treat the most common musculoskeletal injuries that you're going to see in an acupuncture clinic, as well as learn things like kinesiology taping for the acupuncturist, how to market a practice or how to market an acupuncture practice, definitely check out the link in the bio. It has a lot of information there. And if you have any more questions, just shoot me a DM and I'll be more than happy to help you out. All right. Have a great weekend, guys. I'll see you guys soon.